everyone, this is Ebony Love, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to properly fold your fabric so that you get straight cuts through your AccuQuilt Go or Studio fabric cutter. Although the demonstration that I'm going to do is using the AccuQuilt Studio, all of the tips that I share do apply to all of your cutters. When you first get fabric from a fabric store, you're typically buying fabric off the bolt, and bolts have the fabric folded in half from selvage to selvage, and then it's wrapped around the bolt. A lot of times people believe that they should cut fabric or cut their fabric on the fabric cutter just the way that it comes off the bolt. Now, what I'm here to tell you is that that's not always the case. You do sometimes need to be aware that the fabric needs to be straightened before it goes on the go in order for you to get straight cuts. When the fabric is folded in half on the bolt, you tend to get what I call a factory fold, which is a very hard crease. Hopefully you can see this. A very hard crease in the fabric that makes you think that that is the fabric that's folded precisely in half and precisely on grain. I've been to a couple of fabric warehouses where they actually wrap the bolts, and trust me, they're not always rolling them on grain. You'll probably also notice that when you're at the fabric store and they're cutting fabric off of the bolt, you might also notice that the fabric isn't quite straight, and they're cutting things anyway, and that can sometimes cause you to lose a couple of inches of fabric in straightening. When you cut fabric off the bolt, so I'm going to just set this bolt aside and use a piece of fabric that has been cut off the bolt. What you want to do to prepare your fabric when you're cutting from selvage to selvage, so this is a half yard, selvage to selvage, you want to press out that factory fold. So you can see here that this is pressed not extremely well, but enough to get that factory fold out of the center. To straighten your fabric, what you want to do is grab the fabric about a shoulder's width apart and align the selvage together. So you want the selvages to be aligned on the top so that they match. And when you look at the fabric, you want to hold it up so that it hangs straight. Now I'm kind of shifting this to the side so you can see that this is not straight. Do you see that wrinkle that's kind of formed on the front side? That's telling me that the fabric is not aligned on grain. So even though I could press this fabric and get a nice straight press down there at the bottom, and my selvages are aligned, they're both perfectly straight along the top, this fabric is not aligned on grain. And when it's not aligned, that's when you are going to get crooked cuts. So what you want to do with the fabric hanging like this is grab it between your fingers. So I'm inserting my index finger in between the two folds of fabric, the thumb on one side and the rest of my hand on the other side. And you're going to keep the selvages aligned, and you're just going to use your thumb and index finger to rock the fabric back and forth until you see that wrinkle disappear. Once that wrinkle disappears, that's telling you that this fabric is now straight. So with the fabric straightened this way, I can either press that fold or just carefully grab it and fold it again. And so if I'm aligning this on my cutter, I can make sure that this fabric is going to be cut straight and I'm going to get straight cuts. Now on both the Studio and the Go, you can run 22-inch wide strips of fabric on the cutter. So if I were to take this fabric and just lay it down, I'm going to line it here, and I don't like to waste very much fabric, so I'm looking here, and on my die I have a straight line marked with a silver Sharpie, and I'm going to align the fold here with that line. And if you have excess fabric hanging over, you can flip it over and align that fold again and make sure that the dies are covered, and then put your mat on top and run it through the cutter. And in doing that, that's going to make sure that your fabric is completely straight when it comes out of the cutter. So hopefully that showed you just a little technique that you can use to straighten your fabric before you run it through the cutter, and that's going to ensure that all your strips come out straight. Have fun quilting! Thank you.